Hello, my name is Phillip Horst. I am a student at Bloomsburg University. This is my presentation for the POLI-160 International Relations class, which is taught by Dr. Ding. We were all allowed to choose a topic for our presentation here, just related to international relations, and I chose to do mine on foreign interference in elections, not just US elections, but also worldwide elections. And then just for a short introduction slide, I am a political science major, and I also have a human resources management minor that I am pursuing as well. It is my freshman year at Bloomsburg, and then post-grad, I want to do a career as a political strategist. I chose this topic because as a political strategist, you're obviously working on elections, and foreign interference inside those elections can heavily impact them, so I thought it'd be an interesting topic to learn about. So before I got into a lot of the information, I wanted to put an overview of everything in the presentation. So first, what exactly is foreign election interference? All the other points will get their own slide, but this one I just wanted to answer here because it's a more simple question to answer. Foreign election interference is just when a foreign country somehow involves itself in the rigging or trying to influence the outcome of another country's election. This is like the broad definition of it. And then in the following slides, I will get into a lot of the other information. So clearly you can tell by the name foreign election interference is a serious problem, but the key reasons I put together for this are the three on the slide. First, by influencing the outcome of a vote, it heavily undermines the belief of democracy and also choice that just is a common belief with nations that have a democracy. It also often can involve getting a corrupt figure who's cheating their way to power and knows of the interference, or it is a leader unaware of the interference and they're not necessarily corrupt, but they would naturally be a better outcome for the nation that is interfering. So as a result, they would choose to interfere that way to get the better candidate for their country. And then lastly, it just overall harms a country's sovereignty. The sovereignty means it's a free nation that can operate how it wants to, and another country interfering in its elections obviously takes away from that sovereignty. And now on this next slide, which is about how does the interference happen. So I picked two ways, there are obviously many more. I just thought these were the two biggest and most important to look into. And then the first one of those two is bribery. This can be shady, secretive money that gets like flown in and dirty money that is hard for the public to find out about. But it can also just be like a straight up public statement. The example I used for this is a story from an ABC News article that we talked about in class, which is President Trump was offering $20 billion in foreign aid to Argentina just on the condition that they would re-elect their current president, whom he has a very good relationship with. So if they wouldn't re-elect their current president, they would not receive the $20 billion in foreign aid. It is only if they choose to re-elect him. And then for the second reason, I chose media manipulation. This can range from fake news all the way to just giving a certain candidate more and or better attention for their imagery. However, this example I'm using is according to an NBC News article, something that researchers are calling spamiflage, which is a tactic that China was using in a recent US election 2020, is what the article is primarily about, to flood our social media with propaganda. An interesting aspect about this is China targeted both candidates from that election. So there was posts from their camouflage about Trump being a fraud and Biden being a coward, which I thought was interesting that they chose to attack the both of them. For this next slide, I was going to look into where does the interference happen. So obviously, as U.S. citizens, we always hear about the U.S. and its interference that it receives and gives, but this is a worldwide problem. It can happen anywhere, and then in its most recent cases, it has occurred in places such as Singapore, Romania, Moldova, and many others. In the previous slides, I mentioned the United States a lot, and that's where a lot of data come from, so it's hard not to sometimes. But I wanted to use this slide to tell a story fully about a country being interfered with on its elections by a foreign country. In this case, it is China interfering with Taiwan. All of the information I'm using for this slide is from two articles from The Guardian and the BBC. A key point I wanted to show here, and also a quick backstory, is from the BBC article, China considers Taiwan a breakaway province. This is after communists took over China in 1949 and the nationalists fled to Taiwan and formed a government there. To this day, China claims it's their right to take Taiwan back. According to The Guardian now, China has been heavily influencing Taiwan's elections more and more to favor a party winning that would be more beneficial for them. The Guardian actually says that Taiwan has received some of the most foreign interference of any country in recent years. And now for the interference, one of their key methods that China is using is deepfakes. A video is posted that shows a Taiwan presidential candidate saying his opposition represents the majority of Taiwan, not his own supporters. While that was proven to be a deepfake, it definitely shows something dangerous that could happen if the public sees it and takes the wrong view on it. Another one of the multiple ways they use, just I chose to include two on the slide, is misinformation. So there's a misinformation campaign spread that there would be cameras inside voting booths as a scare tactic for the public with voting. These are just two of the methods, like I said, and China has denied the claims against them from Taiwan. So, as with all problems, it is natural to want to find solutions for them. Obviously, every country has different laws and systems, so some of these solutions may or may not be in place already, depending on the country. The first solution I want to look at is voter ID or voter identification. This is a very hot topic in US politics, but actually, according to Fred Lucas of the Heritage Foundation, virtually every poll done on this, 80% of voters in the US support requiring nationwide ID for voter identification, which surprised me, especially considering Ballotpedia says that right now only 24 states require photo ID at voting places. So that was an interesting difference in states requiring it and in the public support for it. And then next, I have paper ballots. So the main thing that led some nations, including the US, to ever sway away from paper are DRE machines. These are machines that are used to count votes either fully digitally or also leaving behind something called a VPAT, or standing for Voter Verified Paper Audit Trail. These trails are left as backup for audit purposes and to verify the machine's accuracy. However, a lot of concerns on hacking, just annoying technical problems, led to many countries moving to fully leave DREs behind. For example, Germany actually banned them in 2009. The solution to this in the US is that most states use paper ballots that are optically scanned to avoid slow hand counting but preserve fair voting. And this has been becoming a common solution for the world too. According to the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, 81% of countries that they researched, which was around 178, do not use e-voting machines. And then lastly, this is more of an opinion solution, but I have found just from researching that I believe more transparency from election officials could lead to safer and more trustworthy election results. Here are all the sources that I used inside this presentation, and then that would wrap up my foreign election interference presentation for Dr. Ding's class.